Hey there, and welcome to my channel. I am Brittany Flammer, a financial coach with videos all about budgeting and money saving tips for you and your family. I just ran up and down the stairs real fast, so I'm breathing heavily. It is the last day of the month. Say hi, and then goodbye. Okay, hi. Okay.
What is OF spell?
Love. Okay, sorry about that interruption. Usually I film these videos in advance so that you can see them when you're planning your budget, but I've had a lot of questions lately on how to handle the details at the end of the month, closing out the budget for the month, and then starting new for the next month. So I'm doing this live today, which is why my son's home, because it's the last day of the month. Normally I film my videos while he's at school. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to share my spreadsheet, and I don't care if you use this spreadsheet, if you use whatever budget you use, just make sure you're using one that works for you. But this is the one I use. You can grab it for a couple of dollars if you want in my shop. I'll put a link. There will be a link in the description box down below. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started. If you have any questions while we're going, feel free to add them in the chat and I will check it periodically to make sure I am answering your questions. So this doesn't take forever. Let's get started. My husband's income is our main income, and we budgeted $5,866, and that's exactly what he made. He has salary, so that does simplify things. This budget will work. Any budget can work, even if you're on inconsistent income. I have a lot of tips. If you have questions on that, let me know in the comments, and I will answer that. My business income is very inconsistent, and I made $2,300, which is the most I've ever made, which was awesome. But we like to live off of my husband's income. And then anything I make, when I just first started working, it was anything I made went towards fun stuff like vacations. But now we've been putting that money aside to pay towards our mortgage, to pay it off early. That is probably going to be changing soon. I'll tell you more about it when we get to it down below. Interest, $85 for the month. We have a lot of money in online savings accounts, so we do earn some interest. We just let it accumulate in the accounts where it is. In our sinking funds, I'll show you how that works out down below. So total income for the month, $8,300, which is awesome. $2,400 more than what we had planned. That's a great problem to have. So that means our tithing, we paid $350 more than planned because we pay on our gross income. We made more money than we planned on, so we paid more. That is a problem that I love to have. So total donations, $1,250, $350 more than planned. Then moving on to our expenses, I start with like the boring fixed expenses and then move on to the ones we have more control over. Our mortgage, it is fixed normally. Normally it's $1,332, but it was $1,376 this month. Our property taxes went up, which I'm sure many of you have experienced the last year or two. They went up last year by like $70 or $80 a month. And they sent us a letter a couple months before notifying us. I didn't get one of those this year, but it went up by almost $45 this month. They just took out more. And so once I logged in and looked at it, it's because our property taxes have gone up again. So that's a bummer, but now we know. Our electricity also, we went way over $54. So we have solar panels, but we have found, we've had them on for 2 years now. They bank the solar throughout the summer and fall, and then we use up that solar we accumulated over the winter. And by like February, March, we have used up all of it. So we start using the actual paying for electricity, not using our solar. So this is the highest we've ever paid, $84. We went over $54. So I did reach out to our utility company, and a lot of utility companies, including our electricity, has an average payment plan. So I signed up for this. They took our bill. So we'll just be paying, I can't remember if it's $23 or $25 every month. And then they'll reevaluate it once a year and adjust it accordingly. So for future, I can have just an average payment. Our city bill, our natural gas is also the same. It's $142 every month. Then they'll reevaluate it once or twice a year. Our city bill, $109.49. Life insurance is fixed at $11.10. Our car insurance, it fluctuates by a couple dollars every month, but ours is paid monthly. So it was $104.77 this month. Our phone bill, $30. Internet, $71. Gas for our cars, we stayed under $155. for the month. Piano is fixed at $50 for the month. Preschool fixed at $125 for the month. And groceries, this is a major win. We stayed under budget on groceries by $36, which is awesome. We did it. Yeah, so I feel really good about that. Eating out, we did not eat out at all. February is a little bit of a shorter month, but we had, I think, 2 weekends. We had tournaments for my daughter's volleyball, so we packed our food. And so normally my husband and I go out to eat once or twice, but we did not do that at all this month. Miscellaneous, just a little stuff that adds up that we didn't plan for, $33.05. Entertainment, we went over on this, and this wasn't really anything fun. I had a really rough day, and so when my husband got home from work, I left and I did some retail therapy. But I go to the thrift store rather than going to like Target or a store where I will spend a lot of money. I went to the thrift store. So I bought some clothes and a bunch of books, and that was my cheaper than therapy retail session. So I went over by $15. Kids money, we pay our kids for some of their jobs. They have some jobs they just have to do because it's part of being in our family. But then if they do everything on their charts, they do get paid some. But then we expect them to pay for some things on their own. So we paid $24 for the month towards our kids doing their jobs. And babysitting my daughter, a couple of times I had her watch some of the younger kids while I took a different daughter to her dentist appointment or went different places. So I paid about $15. So I like to look at things as overall expenses. So yes, we did go over on our mortgage payment, and our electricity we went over, but we were under on gas and we were under on our groceries. So for month to month, I'll make some tweaks. So now I know for next month, I need to adjust our mortgage and adjust our electricity. But I like to focus on the overall, because sometimes I go over, sometimes I'm under on another one. So overall, we had an extra $6.36. So that's great overall. So then I move on to our debts, and we don't have any outstanding debt other than our mortgage. And we've already accounted for that in our expenses, our monthly mortgage payment. We do use a credit card, but we pay it off every month. There's no balance on it. So I don't track that here. If we had any outstanding debt, I would take care of that right here in the debts, but we don't have that. So I'm going to move on to our savings. This is savings as well as most of our sinking funds. And I will in a minute explain to you how I personally use our sinking funds. But our first one is our emergency fund. We didn't budget anything, but we did put money into it because it's in an online savings account. Any money that it earns in interest, we just let sit and accumulate in that account. So we didn't spend anything out of our emergency fund. So we've got a little over $16,000 in there. My husband's fund money and money for his bike maintenance, that's $50 a month. He didn't spend anything, so he's got $759 in there now. My fund money is $25, and I did just buy something. I spent $22, so now I have $199 in there. Life insurance, we budgeted $68. We put $68 in, didn't spend anything. This is saving up for in the fall when we have to pay it. So right now we have $282 in there. House maintenance, we budgeted $125, put $125 into our savings account for house maintenance, but we spent $94. So we have $233 left. Vacation, we budgeted $150. We ended up putting $161 in because I put the $150 in, but it's in an online savings account along with a lot of these sinking funds, and the interest goes into that account. So we had $11.40 of interest going there. We did spend $180. We booked a trip to Mexico for the summer, and we had to pay $180 up front. So now we have $264 in there. House updates, we budgeted $200. We put $200 into the account. We didn't spend anything. So we are now at $1,117, which is not very much. We're in the middle, if you've been following along with me, we're in the middle of building a garage with an apartment above it. And we have been in the process this month. We've had snow and it's been cold. So we've been in the process of getting quotes and figuring out how much it's going to cost us to finish it. And $1,100 is not going to do it, but that's how much we have in there right now. And then extra mortgage payment, we did not budget anything, but then the money that I made for my business goes here. So if you look up here, I made more than $1,900. I made $2,300, but some of that went towards our tithing. And we also put some into investments. $100 of that goes into mutual fund investment. And then the rest of that goes towards our mortgage. So our mortgage interest rate is so low that I'm earning a higher interest rate in our online savings account. So we're just letting it accumulate in our online savings account. And then the plan is once a year, in a few years, to put that money towards our mortgage. So we've now got $9,751. That being said, my husband and I have discussed it. We are going to put this money towards our garage to get it finished sooner. So maybe we should have been paying it towards our mortgage, but now we have that money sitting in account so we can spend it. But we've decided that getting the garage done, and once we get it done, we could rent it out if we want and start making more money. Anyway, we're putting that money towards the garage. Whether or not we rent it out, I just want it done. So clothing, we budgeted 75, put 75 in. We spent $64. So we have 69 left in our clothing fund. Gifts, budgeted 25, put 25 in. We spent 20 for a baby shower gift. $48 left in the account. Medical, we budgeted 100, put 100 in. We did spend $33. We have flex spending, and so anytime we have a medical expense, we use that. But they only give us one card. And so I spend most of the stuff. I do me and all the kids. Like I take them to their appointments. So it's usually me that has the card. But then if my husband ever needs it, then he doesn't have the card. Or so I think what happened is he had a dentist appointment and he took it so that he could pay for the fluoride. And then I needed something and he still had the card. Anyway, it's really annoying to me that they only give us one card. But I think it was me that had to pay for some medical stuff. So I didn't pay with our flex spending because I didn't have the card. So I pulled it out of our medical expense. So we have $15.91 left in this account. Car expenses, budgeted 75, put 75 in, didn't spend anything. So we're at 171. Christmas, budgeted 50, put 50 in. Now we're at 113. Kids extracurricular, we budgeted 175, we put 175 in, but then my daughter ended up going to Phoenix for a volleyball tournament that we had not planned on. They had her guest play on a team, so we had to pay to get her there and for hotel. And so we ended up spending about $300 for her to go to Phoenix that we had not planned on. So we spent $434, which means we're negative 212. Now that's a problem. So I'm going to show you how we handle that in just a sec. Let me finish going through our savings. We budgeted 400 for my Roth IRA. We put 400 in. Budgeted 400 for my husband's Roth IRA. We put 400 in. We budgeted 100 for mutual fund investment. We put 100 in. So I look at overall, all of the money we spent was almost $8,300. So we have an extra $7.93 in our checking account at the end of the month. That's a small enough amount. I'm just going to leave it there because I like keeping a buffer in our checking account. So if I go over a few dollars, I don't worry about it. So we'll just leave that in there. But going back to this extracurricular, we're over 212. How does that work? Let me, sorry, I struggle with technology. Okay, so how we work our sinking funds, this is not the only way to do it. This is how I like to do it, and this is what has worked for us for years. So you don't have to do it, but I'm going to share with you what we do. We have all of our money comes into our checking account. My husband gets paid usually like the last day of the month. So he got paid on January 20, the very end of January, he got paid. So we use that money for all of our February expenses. And so at the beginning of the month, so we use sinking funds for all of those expenses that aren't monthly or aren't consistent. And I go through at the beginning of the year, kind of figure out how much I think we'll want in those accounts. And so we figure out how much we need to put into that account each month to have money when it comes. So like our life insurance, we pay it in the fall. So we have to put money in each month so that it's there in the fall when we have to pay it. So I have all the money comes into our checking account. And then I have separate savings accounts opened at online banks. SoFi and Ally are my favorite, but there are a lot of great ones. I don't care what ones you use. I like SoFi and Ally because they let you visually separate your money. So you can have one account, but have lots of like subcategories or subfiles. So for example, at Ally, we have our vacation. We could have our vacation fund, our house maintenance, our house updates, personal money, all of that stuff. I have in a separate account from our checking. So on the end of the month, my husband gets paid in our paycheck. It comes into our checking account. Then the very first day of the month, I have money taken And I like to do it automatically. So if you see the asterisk on my thing, that means it's automatically transferred. That amount is automatically transferred out of our checking account into our sinking fund account. So that's not in our checking account. We're not going to spend it, but I move it over to our sinking funds account. And then throughout the month, I spend money just like normal. I either pay with our debit card or we put whatever we can on our credit card for the points. And I accumulate it. And at the end of the month, all of the money we've spent from our sinking funds, I'll transfer. I'll just do one big transfer out of the sinking funds back into our checking account. And then we will pay the credit card with the money in that checking account. So I hope that makes sense. I know some people that like to just do one savings account and they keep all of their sinking funds in that one savings account and they just keep track of how much is in each. That is great. It just doesn't work for me because I'm super visual. So I like using Ally and SoFi because I can have one account, but I can have vacation fund and a car fund and our life insurance fund and our house maintenance fund and see how much I have in each of those accounts. But I spend like normal throughout the month. And then at the end of the month, I'll transfer that money from savings that we spent back into checking. If you have any questions about that, let me know. I am happy to answer questions. I'm just sharing that's how it works for us. And then if you scroll down here, this is where I track our transactions. So like groceries, we make multiple, we shop for groceries multiple times throughout the month. So I like to keep track here of how much, so I know how much I have left to spend. So now that January is over, we have a problem. We have spent $212 in the sinking fund. We're negative $212, but we can't go negative $212. So that money has to come out of somewhere. So I told my husband, I said, hey, we're over $212 from our kids' extracurricular. Where do you want that to come out of? So we decided we would pull that out of our vacation fund. So what I do is I'll come up here to our vacation fund and we spent $180 this month. So what I'm going to do is add how much we went over. So we went over $212.18. So I'm going to add that to our vacation fund. So now instead of pulling out $180 from our vacation fund, it's like we spent $393 on vacation. We're going to pull out $393. So we'll only have $52 left in our vacation fund. And then instead of pulling out $434, $212.18. So minus. Goodness. Okay. So now we'll only pull out 222 of our kids' extracurricular. So we'll have 0 left in that, but we'll pull out extra from our vacation fund. So we'll have 52 left in that. So now it's the last day of the month. I will go into my online savings or wherever I keep the money for our sinking funds, and I'm going to transfer this. So I will just do one big transfer with all of this money from our savings account where we keep our sinking funds into our checking account. And then I'll pay off the credit card with all of that money. And nothing went negative. So that's just how I do it. Not right or wrong, but that is what's worked for us. Now that the month is over, what I'm going to do is I want to budget for next month. Now, if you're using my template here, if you got it from the store, there is a tab that is for templates. So all you have to do is duplicate this. So right click, duplicate, and then I'll rename it for March. And then it's a blank slate. We start fresh. What I do is I go back into February, the end balance in all of my accounts, I'm going to copy. So Control C, Command C, copy that. I'll go back to March. And then for the beginning balance, I'm going to paste it, but I'm going to do a paste special. So I will paste the values only. So all the formulas are already there. And then you can just create your March budget. That being said, most people I have found accidentally use their template form. So this template is just supposed to say a template, but most people I have found will actually use it as a month of budgeting. So they no longer have the template form. So assuming that has happened to you, and this is what you've got, it just takes an extra step or two. All I do is duplicate February, duplicate it and rename it March. And then we have to delete. I like to leave the budgeted there so I know what I budgeted last month, but we'll delete the actual. And you don't want to delete any of the bolded stuff because those are formulas. But we'll delete what we actually spent and what we actually put in. And down here, all of our transactions, I will delete these. So you can see the template is a little bit easier, but I know a lot of people accidentally use the template. So then we come over to the end balance. We'll copy it again, and then we will paste special, just paste the values so that the formulas are all still good. So then I will look at this month's budget and I will just make some tweaks. It stays mostly the same month to month. My husband's salary, that's the same. We are getting a tax refund, and we have filed, so I know how much it's going to be, but I don't know when we're going to get it. So I'm going to leave a spot in here. I'm not going to plan for it. We're just going to live off of our normal monthly budget. And then if we do get a tax refund during March, then we'll allocate it where we want it to go. Once again, my business will probably make some money, but we're just going to live off of my husband's income. So I'm not going to plan for that in our budget. Interest, we will make some money on interest, but we'll just leave it in the accounts where it is. And I don't want to have to guess how much it is. So I'm just going to leave it how it is. Tithing, 10%, so about 900. And then I do need to change our mortgage because it went up last month. So it went up to 1376.70. So I will change that. And then electricity, I said I made an average payment plan. So I can't remember if it's $23 or $25 a month. So I'll put 25, better to be conservative. Natural gas, 142. Our city bill is 109.49. Exactly. So I'm going to change that. Life insurance is the same. Car insurance is about the same. Phone, internet, gas. I think I'm going to move gas up to maybe 200 because February is a short month and we have a couple of volleyball tournaments in March they'll have to drive to. So I'm just going to move it up to 200. Piano's fixed at 50. Preschool's fixed at 125. Groceries, I'm going to move this up to 725 because we've got Easter in March and I'll probably spend a little bit extra for like Easter candy or Easter treats. And a store where we live, a grocery store, has case lot sale that they do twice a year, where they sell things, and if you buy them in bulk, you get them for a much cheaper price. So I'm going to stock up on a few things. So I'm going to increase that to 725. Eating out, maybe I'll move that to 30 because my husband and I haven't eaten out in a long time. So that would probably give us 2 meals of eating out. Miscellaneous, 25. Entertainment, I'll keep the same. Kids, 50. Babysitter, 50. Okay. So that's all pretty straightforward. Now moving on to our savings or our sinking funds. Our emergency fund's funded, so I'm going to leave it there, leave it at 0. We're not going to add anything to it. My husband's $50 a month. My fund money, $25 a month. Our life insurance is $68. And like I mentioned, the asterisk here means it's already set up for auto pay. So if I know that I'm gonna transfer the same amount every single month, then I set up auto pay. If it's gonna vary a lot month to month, then you don't want to do auto pay. I would just, on the first day of the month or whenever you get paid, I would manually transfer that money out of your checking account so it's not in there so you don't spend it. But those for us, they're fixed. They're the same every month. So I'm just leaving them on auto pay. House maintenance, we have it set up for $125 a month. Vacation is $150 a month. I am going to delete house updates for now. I'm going to put 0 in there for now because our kids' extracurricular, we're going to have some more expenses coming up. So I want to add more to that. Clothing's good at 75, gifts 25, medical, car, Christmas, kids' extracurricular. So I'm going to add to this. Let's do, we had 200. Let's do 300. Okay. Yeah. 300, our Roth IRA, 400, and then 100 for our investments. So the goal with the zero-based budget is to plan all your money, get it down to 0. However, if you notice, I'm over $102. But the reason I'm over is because we are investing $100 a month. But we're investing that because we try to invest off of our gross income. But I am now making money. So we want to invest some of the money that I'm making. But it's our personal money. So I wanted to include it in our personal budget, not just my business budget. But it is coming. So the money that I make from my paycheck, 100 of that will go towards our investments. If for some reason I didn't make money in the month of March, then we would pull that 100 from somewhere else. So I'm okay being $100 over. But normally you want to get it to 0. So I could adjust this $2.47. So if I want to be exact, let's see, that would take me to 722.43, 53. Oh, I did it right. That never happens. Okay, so I'm just $100 over, which is money that will be coming from my business to pay for our mutual funds. And then if there are categories that you have a hard time tracking, or that you want to track throughout the month, like our mortgage, we just pay once a month. I don't need to track that. But like our groceries, what I will do is I'll type in the new amount, $722.53. So that's how much I have to spend for the month. And then anytime I buy something, let's say I go to Walmart and I spend $43, I'm going to know how much I've spent, and then I'm going to see how much money I have left to spend in groceries. And then I like to do miscellaneous. These are just some of the categories that I like: clothing, house maintenance, and then our kids' extracurricular. Those are just the ones that I'm consistently feel like I like having help with. So let me show you how I figured those out with our savings. Because I am planning for March, today is February 29th. On the first of the month, I told you we have all of this money automatically taken out. So I'm just going to copy this over. So $50 will automatically be put into my husband's. $25 will be put into mine. $68 into the life insurance, house maintenance, vacation, clothing, gifts. If I were doing this manually, I would wait until I actually transfer the money in, but it's happening midnight, 1 a.m. tomorrow morning automatically. So I am doing this so that I know how much we have. So now, let's see what category, clothing. So I know that for the month of March, I will have $134.11. So I'm going to type that in. So then I can track it throughout the month. Same with house maintenance, $328.54. And I've thought about programming the formulas to automatically transfer the data, but every household, so I could do that for myself, but every household spends their money a little bit different. So some people might want to track their gas expenses for their car, and I don't want to track my gas. So so everyone has different categories. So that's not automatically filtered. So you have to actually go in and type in the numbers if you're using the spreadsheet. Okay, so that's all of my categories. So tomorrow, all of this money will be automatically transferred. So this is how much, the end balance, that's how much I have to spend for the month in each of those categories. So I've got $722 for groceries, $25 for miscellaneous, clothing, my house maintenance, kids extracurricular. Then as I spend money on those throughout the month, I will document it here to keep track. So I know at a glance. So I know if tomorrow I go shopping, I know I have $134 left in clothing to spend. That is a very long explanation. I'm trying to keep this as short as possible. If anyone has any questions, let me know in the chat box or leave a comment. I try to answer these as best I can. If you are interested, if you are living paycheck to paycheck and you want to stop living that paycheck to paycheck cycle, I have a link here. Let me include it right here. Oh, shoot. I don't have that link anymore. I will include it in the description box or in the comments below. I would love to meet with you via Zoom for about 15 minutes, ask you a few questions, do a little mini interview, and then follow up, answer any of your personal finance questions that you might have. I'm just doing some research and want to find out how to best help people get out of the paycheck to paycheck cycle. So if that's you, leave a comment down below, or I will include a link for you to go to sign up to do our little interview. Otherwise, I don't see any questions in the live chat. So thank you so much for joining. I hope you have a great day. Hope this answered some of your questions about how I close out my monthly budget and start the next month fresh. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next video. Now I got to figure out how to close it, end it.